Hi, so it is day 3 today of the 10 Things About Me challenge. So for today, I've got to say 10 things that I love. And yeah, let's get started with this. So, number 1 on my list is female superheroes. From the time I was like really little, I loved, Marvel, and I used to always watch like the X-Men cartoon and then even Spider-Man and some of my favorite superheroes when I was younger. I loved Catwoman from the Batman movies and stuff, especially Batman Returns. Michelle Pfeiffer was awesome, in my opinion. And then other female superheroes I really liked. My favorite was Rogue from X-Men. I kind of liked, she had kind of the self-isolation thing going on where she wanted to be closer with people, but she always had to keep a physical barrier between her and others, so she couldn't get too close to people. And, it was just, good angst. So, yeah, she's one of my favorite superheroes. I also really like Wonder Woman's awesome. Who else? I know the Black Cat was one of my favorite in the Spider-Man animated series, like the 1990s series. I also watched the really, really old one, but I think actually in the very, very old one from the 60s or 70s, he's dating Gwen Stacy in that one, whereas in the 90s he was with Mary Jane. And anyway, I really liked female superheroes. I thought they were empowering. It was interesting. It was so cool to see women kick ass on the screen or in the comic books. I was just like, oh my god, women. Yeah. I guess one other person I should be mentioning is Sailor Moon, since she was kind of very important to my childhood. So even now, I still love Sailor Moon. I'm so excited for the new series that's coming out this summer. Totally going to be watching it. And all right, let's go to number 2. So second thing that I love, Disney. Oh my god. I was just, even now, one of my guilty pleasures is I love to watch the Tinkerbell movies. I don't know anyone else who loves Tinkerbell, but I think that they came out a few years ago. The first one was in 2010, 2011, and every year they've released a new film, and it's just whenever it comes out, right away I just have to get the film and I have to freaking watch it. I love Disney and Tinkerbell, and I like all this. They're all spirit sprites, and Tinkerbell's twin sister, she's one of the frost sprites, or one of the frost fairies, and it's just so cool. Yeah, so I really like Disney, and not just Tinkerbell. My favorite heroine slash princess from the Disney series is actually Mulan, but of course I did Chinese studies, so later when I actually read Mulan in Chinese, I was like, oh my god, she's freaking amazing, yeah, in the film she saves all of China and stuff. And I don't know, she just, even in the book or in the traditional story, she kind of she wins her war, she's a war hero, and in the end she asks for nothing. She's like, I just want to go back home to my family, and I'm just girl, respect, respect. That is so cool. Yeah, so she's one of my favorites. Obviously, I like all the other Disney films, everything from Frozen to growing up. My favorite before Mulan came out, my favorite was actually Aladdin. So I really like Jasmine, Aladdin, and yeah, that was kind of one of my first OTPs. All right, let's go to number 4. Or sorry, number 3. I'm only on number 3. Wow, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so number 3, stories. From a young age, I was always reading books. I love reading books. I like telling stories. I like reading stories. It doesn't matter, anything from fan fiction to novels. I think that if you write fan fiction, I don't think you're any less of a writer than some of the published people. I mean, for God's sakes, has anyone read 50 Shades of Grey? I actually tried reading it 3 months ago. Yeah, I actually decided to give it a chance. I was just looking for something to watch, or why do I keep saying watch? I was looking for something to read after I did read the whole Hunger Games trilogy. And coming from the Hunger Games trilogy and trying to read 50 Shades of Grey is a really bad idea. It was just so badly written, and I think I made it into 100 pages where I just had to say, okay, you know what? I quit 50 Shades of Grey. This is stupid. It's, I don't know, one character was trying to rape the other character, and I'm just ugh, this is just gross. And then, of course, Mr. Perfect Billionaire guy, Sebastian Grey, is that what his name is? He, comes in, and I'm just this is stupid. And I just, quit the book. So, unfortunately, I have this policy of always trying to finish a book. Don't just quit a book, give it a chance. But, 50 Shades of Grey, I couldn't do it. Well, this isn't 10 things I hate, 10 things I love. So maybe I should at least say books that I love. Okay, so yeah, Hunger Games trilogy, loved it, read it, loved it. The Harry Potter series, I actually didn't read it until I was 18, 19. Yeah, so I finally sat down, read the whole series, or not the whole series, I think that was just the first 6 books, and then the 7th book came out later. And then I was like, wow, I've really been missing out. As a child, I loved Animorphs and the Redwall series by Brian Jakes. It was like animals who fought wars with each other, and it was just like all these like epic like war hero type stories, but with woodland creatures. So it was pretty awesome. Anything else? There's so many other series that I read. I used to read like the Sweet Valley High series, but like that's kind of like, that was a guilty pleasure growing up. It's not really something I'd tell people these days. Anyway, I just love stories because I think that it's a creative outlet for us to tell our own stories, help us overcome our own issues in life, and it could be a form of escapism and also a way that we deal with, just the difficulties that we face in everyday life. So I think stories are wonderful. All right, number 4. Well, I think that a list of people I love would not be complete without mentioning my family. So I grew up in a 3-person household. There was a 4th person for a while. Like there's my mother divorced, and then later I had like a stepfather, and then they split up because like drama. But either way, the 2 other people in my immediate family are my mother and my brother. So I grew up with them. They are the most important people in the world to me, and I don't mean this as any offense to any friends that I have, because I would easily pick my family over my friends. If it ever came down to it, that's just the bottom line. And it's not that I don't love my friends or, love the people who have been, so wonderful befriending me here in Asia, making me feel less lonely, and like, letting me be part of like the expat community, and like they're all wonderful people, but my family is just the most important to me. I think when the main unit has only 3 of you, one who's a working single parent and who also has to deal with like terminal illness, then it gives you, from a young age, like I had a better appreciation for all the things my mother did. As a teenager, I never really rebelled against her. I know, like I had lots of friends, they would tell me things like, oh, I argued with my mom, she's being a bitch and she kicked me out. And for me, that was never the case for me. I don't look down my nose at anyone who's actually had those experiences, because everyone's experience within their family is different. It's just because we were growing up kind of like barely above the poverty line, with my mother who's, working like 3 jobs, and she's struggling with cancer at the same time, and, she's trying to help support 2 children. Like, because of that experience, it made us have to be closer with each other, just given the circumstances. So I would say that I am 100% like it's always my family is the most important thing to me. I mean, if I were to actually put this list in order of most important things that I love, the family would be number 1 easily. But yeah, that's just my experience though. All right, so let's go to number 5. Number 5, and I can actually show you guys this. Number 5 is nail art. Like, my nails are so sparkly that it's like too shiny on here. Maybe this is better. So pretty much like 2 to 3 times a week, I try to keep it to only twice a week, I actually do nail art. I do everything from like gradient nails, and if you can see, like my nails are fairly long. I grow my nails naturally, so everyone always thinks that they're fake, but no, these are 100% real. I love nail art. Like, I just have to do it all the time. So, mostly in Korea, I've been going to the face shop to buy my nail polish, but I also like to use another shop and brand I like is the OPI. I actually right now have like a giant bag down there, you can't see it from here, of nail colors. I think I have about like between 20 and 30. I love nail art. I always have to do it. I like having pretty nails, pretty long nails. And yeah, one thing I love. All right, let's go to number 6. Okay, so number 6, I'm going to say this is like the geek in me. I love my ships. It doesn't matter like which fandom it is. I mean, there's so many different ones. I've got like a few listed here. Like I've got the Sifkis, Puhura, Kerbashtun, Jelsa, like all these ships that I love. I like it because I feel that when we write these characters, or even if we're role-playing characters, like with our friends and stuff, it's one way of bringing people together, especially if you're a more introverted person. I'm actually quite an extrovert, which for me, it's even surprising in how extroverted I am. I always thought I'd end up being an introvert. So I'm usually like always going out to meet with people and stuff, but then when I'm at home, I guess maybe I just get lonely being by myself for like 2 hours, like, oh my god, I gotta talk to someone. So having like ships and being able to talk online late at night with people about like all this, like just playing these characters, it's like a way of like sometimes letting out your own stress that you have in your life. So you pretend to be another character, and it's like, oh, well, this character isn't stressful. This character maybe is happy or going through this like wonderful situation. So then it's a way of like letting go your stress and just being happy as another character. Or sometimes, you can channel your stress through the character too, and when your character overcomes those obstacles, it makes you feel like you can also overcome the obstacles. And I feel like we have more opportunities to do that when we're writing about our ships in fan fiction, when we're reading about them, we're reading about people we personally care about, and seeing them go through hardships and overcoming the obstacles, it gives us more hope in our lives. That's the reason why I think it's important to have ships, and even if you don't, if it's not your thing, I mean, come on, like even my mother's not in fandom, but sometimes there's TV shows where we watch where she's like, oh, I love this couple, so all of us kind of have a ship there. So yeah, I think that they're great. Fictional characters are wonderful. They deserve love. All right, let's go to number 7. So number 7 on my list is knowledge. I love knowledge. I think learning is the most important thing that any of us could ever do. I'm kind of like, I know before when I was asked the question, like based on a D&D scale, where would you put yourself, and like what is your alignment? And I said, oh, well, I'd probably be a lawful neutral. And I think that a lot of that comes from even my love of knowledge. Like for me, I always have to hear every side of a situation. If I don't understand something, then I have to go research it, find out about it for myself, or at least get a basic understanding of it before I feel comfortable enough to form an opinion. Like obviously, because I'm trying to think of an issue where I can't really form an opinion very well. Okay, let's say for example, there's the Ukraine and Russia issue. So it's not something that I've looked at in depth, and it's not something that I've been reading as much on as I could have. It's just because we've had lots of disasters in the last month or so in Korea. Everything from, we had a hospital burn and a department store catch fire in the last week, and the hospital situation was bad because so many people, 29 people were left dead. And then there's other things too, like there's a Sewol sinking last month here in Korea. So it's kind of like I've been mostly following Korean news just because all these things have been happening. But if someone tried to ask me about my opinion on Ukraine and Russia, I would just say I can't form an opinion. I haven't really read either side of it. I'd have to hear both arguments and try to find the most neutral reporting source to see what it is that they're saying that's happening there before I can comfortably make an opinion on the issue. So, and I think a lot of that comes from knowledge. I think that we need knowledge in order to form our opinions. And I think that when we have our opinions without knowledge, then what ends up happening is we don't understand why it is we think that way. And in those cases, it's usually because people around you influence the way you're thinking. So I think we just need knowledge to be able to think for ourselves and form our own opinions. And I think knowledge is one of the most wonderful things we could ever do for ourselves, is going out and seeking it and learning. Plus, I'm also a school teacher, so maybe that's why I like knowledge so much. All right, let's go to number 8. So number 8, again, this list would not be complete without mentioning people important to my life, to my life, and so I'm going to have to say friends. Friends, all of you are very important. It doesn't matter if I've met you in person or if I haven't met you in person. If you've had any conversation with me, or even if you've said anything, whether they're words of criticism or encouragement, criticism in a nice way, not just being like, oh, you're so blah, 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 and something negative, but all of that is really important to me. I take all of that positive energy that you give me, or even just the criticism when you're telling me ways to improve myself, I always consider it, and then I go through my day with your words to hopefully better myself as a person. So I think all of you are very important to me. Sorry if I don't rank you higher than family. This actually isn't a complete list in order. It was just randomly put together. But you are still very important to me. I don't want any of you to ever feel like you have absolutely no meaning to me. I mean, if anything horrible ever happened to any of you, I would feel so devastated. Yeah. So I love all of you. You're great. All my friends. All right, let's go to number 9. So there, I can put up my fingers for 9. So I put down languages and linguistics. As you can tell, I've studied actually quite a few languages. I had to study French when I was in Canada. I studied only very briefly Spanish, which is my father's language, which I really should be studying more, but I don't know. Spanish is kind of easy, but it's easier than I give it credit for. I've never really put the effort into it. But then in university, I primarily studied Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. I was more interested in Korean and Chinese in the end, and I don't mind Japanese. I can speak very basic Japanese. I went to Japan a few months ago, and then there's a few times I had to use it. So I can communicate very basic things in it. But the point is that I love learning languages. I like being able to break down barriers, communicate with more people. As you can tell from my videos, obviously I'm more I'm a self-proclaimed extrovert, so I like to talk to people. I've worked in customer service and teaching jobs, so I feel like in all my jobs I've always had to communicate with people. And I think that language, it helps us improve communication. I think if we had better communication in the world instead of just trying to get everyone else to learn English so they can communicate with us, which I think is a really terrible policy. I wish that North Americans, not to be criticizing anyone on here who may be, can I call you monolingual, or who would only speak English, but I kind of do wish that we were pushed to learn more languages in North America. In fact, I think even when I come here and teach students who they're fluent in like 3 or 4 languages, I've had like students who are fluent in Mandarin, Korean, and English. I just think you might hate that your parents are pushing you and making you learn all these languages, or they push you and put you in these academies and all this. But I still think they're doing a wonderful thing for you. You're going to be able to find so much opportunity in work. You're going to have so many more doors open for you, especially because the Korean and the Chinese markets are emerging. So it's a wonderful place to be and to work. And so I envy these kids because I think that being able to communicate like that it's a wonderful gift to have, and it's something I wish I had. I can only communicate basically in my 2nd and 3rd language. All right, and let's go to number 10. So because I'm a vegan, then yeah, I love animals, so I'm going to put down animals on the list. I don't like animal cruelty. I'm not against the consumption of animals. It's something I always have to make clear to people. I'm only against the process in which animals are killed and then the way they meet our table. Most people decide to just turn a blind eye to that, and I think that is a real problem, because when you aren't pressuring your government or the industry to raise the standards for how these animals are raised and for how they're being killed, what ends up happening is you have more cases of salmonella, food poisoning, and it's all because of laziness for profit. And it's not acceptable. The health of a nation or of a people should not be sacrificed just because an industry wants to make more money. And that's the one thing I have against the consumption of animals. I'm fine. I lived in China. Actually, was in Taiwan though. Literally outside our apartment, there's a woman, and she would keep these chickens just in she had a store where she would keep some chickens, and she would buy her chickens, and they would just kind of hang around their little den there. And you buy your chicken, and she'll kill it. She'll right there in front of you. And I was just that's life. People eat chickens. I was a vegan in Taiwan, but I wasn't going and protesting outside her little shop, It's, people want to eat. The chickens, they weren't being, raised terribly. They got their nice little pen there, and, she kills them swiftly, quickly. She gives it to the customer. So, yeah, not against the eating of animals, just against the way in which they're killed and the way they're being raised in, and I guess in the factories. So, yeah. I'm starting to lose steam here. This video's gone on too long, so thank you for listening. This is my 10 things that I love. Bye!